Hello, my fellow hunters. I still cannot control my arm. And today... Ow! Meow. Get it? Because like I got turned into a shut up's the best I got. Today I want to talk about the Prowler, essentially the 15th weapon in Monster Hunter. Got introduced in Generations, but of course will be there in Generations Ultimate when it comes out. And I will admit, the first time I tried Prowler, I hated it, to the point I essentially never tried it again. I thought it was a little bit gimmicky, and I couldn't really understand why you'd want to give up your hunter. Like, it's a very simple experience. It strips away a fair amount of complexity. You can throw boomerangs, they're charged, you've got a little bit of a dive if you want, you got a basic melee combo to keep you going, there's a few mix-ups in between, you can sprint with your weapon out after a dodge, and really that's about it. It does look pretty cool, and you know, it's definitely amusing to, I'm playing as a Palico, and it's very fast. They've done an okay job at capturing the cat's agility, though nowhere near, I feel, as good as they could / should have done. But either way, I totally get anyone who's looking at this and thinking, why would I want to play as my Palico? I mean, maybe if Palicos were dogs, because everyone knows that dogs are better than cats. I mean, obviously you're fine to prefer cats, just, you know, I'm not gonna judge you for being wrong. Oh god, what have I done to the comments on this video? Either way, I found it super but now with the filter of world, with experiencing just what monster hunting can be, well, I have a whole new appreciation for Prowler, because I actually think it's the closest thing to replicating how world feels to play in the old games, which might sound a little bit silly, but if we look at some surface comparisons, right? For Palicos, you don't need to bring pickaxes or bug nets, you can just gather, same as in World. I honestly feel like it might have been a test drive in that respect. You don't need to worry about sharpening your weapon, you don't even have a stamina bar to manage, you have just the health that you have, and that's it. It's much easier to build armor, you don't need specific parts, you just need monster parts and you trade them in for scraps and then you get what you want. It's much easier to farm armor sets in World 2. Hell, you don't even have to worry about armor skills, you don't have to do that spreadsheet wizardry theory crafting to generate the really good sets with how the armor skills worked in the old game, which is to say, not as intuitive. And, well, I guess you could always just fiddle around with Athena's ass, but not everyone knows about that. And in World, yeah, armor skills super easy to understand and super easy to build your own sets. Look, I realize a few of these might be reaching, I feel like a few of them might be abstract, but the refinement and simplicity of gameplay, the quality of life that the Palico brings, definitely rings of the quality of life permeating through World. I guess for me, the biggest way to contrast the differences in gameplay feel between World and old-style Monster Hunter outside of the core thematic experience is X, Y, or Y sentences. In the old games, it very much flows like action, pause, action, pause, action, pause, action, pause, and while that gives it a structure and a really firm sense of doing, it does also make it feel a little bit on the clunky side, whereas World, it's more like action, flowing smoothly into each other. X while Y. In World, you could gather while moving. In Monster Hunter old style, you can't. In World, you can smoothly control the camera while fighting. In the old ones, well, not so much. Granted, that one's more of a limit of the system, and I'm sure is better on the Switch. In World, you can choose a new direction for your aerial attack while I'm gonna leave that in. While falling, and in the old games, you can't. In World, you can fire a flash while moving. In the old games, you have to stop, throw, and then move on. You feel very locked to your animation and their completion times. And for a lot of people, that adds to the challenge, that adds to the experience, because you have to allow for this. There's no forgivingness. If you commit to an animation at a bad time, you're going to get smacked upside the head. But that also can be argued to be just kind of, I mean, sucky. I personally do much prefer how World feels to play. I do think it's easier, but I only think it's easier because it controls so much better. So much of the difficulty in Generations and Ultimate and Old School Monster Hunter in general comes from things that aren't directly the monster attacking you. And while obviously these things feed back into what the monster's doing, because what the monster's doing affects your decisions to do the other things, whereas in World, if you get beaten down, the only thing you can really blame is yourself and the monster, not, "Oh my god, that hitbox is more messed up than my life choices!" And I think that's an important distinction to make. I think a lot of veterans, and me included, sometimes, hold on to certain mechanics and gameplay quirks in the old games and laud them as that's how true Monster Hunter be. That's the difficulty right there. You should be stood still and flexing every time you drink a potion. And I think that there is a little bit of merit for that, but I think it's a lot of rose-tinted goggles. Because I think it's hard to argue that being able to drink while moving is just a better gameplay experience. And it's a game, right? We're after the best gameplay experience. It's a tricky one, but I definitely think that it's hard to go against World being the definitively best overall Monster Hunter experience. The old games I adore will always have a place in my heart. I've spent more of my life than I care to admit playing them, and there is a lot of merit in getting Ultimate and giving it a proper good go. But anyone that has only played World, take it from me, someone with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours in all the other games, you have experienced Monster Hunter at its current finest. Maybe not necessarily the most difficult, maybe not the most diverse, but its finest. I realize that all of that might not be immediately apparent what it's got to do with Prowlers, but essentially all of that feel I just described that World brings that the old games doesn't is somewhat there in Prowlers because they play a lot more with that smoothness of flow, and that's why I'm liking it so much. Yeah, it doubles up as a much quicker, easier progression through the game, and as I'm catching up my new copy of Generations in preparation for Ultimate, rest in peace, 400 hours. My charms will be missed, but not forgotten. My armor sets, forever growing rust. I love you, old copy of Generations. I will always hold you dear. But hey baby, how you doing? Digital, you say? But yeah, playing as Prowler has definitely sped up the catch-up time, but I essentially then, firstly, you've been seeing the Prowler gameplay while you have been talking at you. What do you think of it? Like, what are you actually getting from this? What's the vibe? There is a little bit of depth here. You have to choose your abilities. You can use essentially anything your cat can do, from pulling out barrel bombs, to playing healing horns, to upgrading the size and thickness of your boomerang, which is to say the meta build in Generations, combining that with pierce boomerangs, or just spamming boomerangs back and through the monster all day, every day. But in Ultimate, it's a little bit different. Palico's got a little bit of a retooling, and there's more options. You hire loads of Palicos, you try and find ones with the skills that you want, in the category that you want, i.e. fighter Palicos, or supports, or trapper Palicos. There's a beast Palico in Ultimate, which I'm excited to control myself, but yeah, you also have some passives, such as attack ups, or crit, or earplugs that you can apply. You want Boomerang Pro, of course. I still need to get World's Strongest on this, which is a really cool skill that massively boosts your attack and defense if your Palico's completely naked, which is really neat. While it's arguably a lot simpler and more boring than the other weapons with the fancy styles, aerial greatsword is quite hilarious, it does bring a certain flow that to me somewhat mollifies me into being like, yeah, I can transition back from World and get used to this, and then maybe go back to my Hunter, because I've almost done it, right? I've killed high rank Narcocos in the guild, I'm kind of there again, it feels fine, it's honestly good to be home, but the Palico bridged that gap for me. It really did. So if any of you are World players that are veterans and you're like, oh, how did I ever do this? maybe try the Prowler. But what I would like to bring up, what I think is a curious thought, is imagine playing as your Palico Prowler in World, because World has the most powerful Palico ever in Monster Hunter. Seriously, I mean, let's just break it down. Yep, that's true, I'm more powerful than you, the most power Palico that you will ever know. Get down on the floor and the door, my two white fuzzy damn paws call me the inspector. My gadgets wreck you, and I'm gonna stop this song before I lose your respect, yeah? Alright, I'm sorry. But I do think in the far future, an amazing DLC would be Prowlers in World, because the Prowler in the old games is super quick and agile. It feels so much faster than the other weapons, at least to me. So imagine that relative to World, where all the weapons already feel faster. Prowler would be like lightning, leaping around the monster, death by 1,000 cuts. I would love to use its lightness and agility to have lots of moves that jump on and off the monster, bounce off it, like really hyped up aerial style, really accentuate the Palico's advantages against monster. Its tiny size, but incredible speed and feats of athleticism. It would be a really unique experience, and I don't know, I could just see some really cool things cropping up around that. You don't really need to change any other systems, the armor is fine, and I do think it would be cool to give Palico some actual skills, but you really don't need to. But you could equip the weapons, use all the gadgets at once. That would be really cool, right, if you had them all going, or maybe choose from a slew of Palico moves, and I don't know, I just think it'd be really neat to see that realized in World's fidelity. I mean, let me know what you think, right? Do you actually look at this and go, yeah, I want to play as a Palico in World, that'd be awesome? A part of me thought, right, you could just switch to playing as your Palico, and then your hunter gets made an AI and tries to help and support your Palico. How funny would that be? Oh my god. But I'm not sure it would work in World, but I'd love to know if you think that it would be something you'd be all over, and lay some ideas on me how you'd actually go about implementing it. I think that's awesome. But yeah, today I just wanted to show off some Prowler, give you a kind of basic overview how they go down and what you can expect from them, especially as a World player who I would recommend give Prowlers a go, and you'll probably settle into the old style much smoother than you would doing anything else. I think it's a really good transitional weapon, and will put you right at home. But for now, my name has been Josh. Like you've enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you, even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on, and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.